Imagine, if you will, a sponge soaking up all of the water, soaking up all of the energy that is being produced and that is on the earth. Big tech companies are like that giant sponge that absorbs massive amounts of energy, massive amounts of water, leaving less for everyone else. And as they grow, they take more energy, more water from the environment, and that makes it harder for you and me and small businesses and all the households to get what they really need. Well, we're going to talk about that today. And let's just begin with the data centers, because data centers have been popping up all over the country. We're just going to stay in the US, but this is really true all over the world. It's a big issue. But the dramatic increase in power demands from Silicon Valley's growth at all costs approach to AI also threatens to upend the energy transition plans for entire nations. Remember, we're supposed to go to green energy? Well, that's been struggling, and this certainly does not help it. Growing concerns of outages and price increases for those living in the densest data center markets. So we're not just talking about outages, but are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for security in your energy? And how about your water as well? Because this is a huge problem and it's not getting discussed enough. But this is why part of the mantra includes both energy security as well as water security, because that also impacts your food security. We can't live without water. We can't live without food. But big tech is sucking up yours and my essential limited resources. What are you doing about it? Are you going to wait until it's too late? Because it's already wreaking havoc on global power systems, and it's not even marginally done yet, and it's only going to get worse. And you can see in this graph from 2008, and money got real cheap then. Look at the upward trajectory of data centers. They use more electricity than most countries. And here is just a small list of them. And in fact, there are only 16 countries, including the US and China, that consume more. So these data centers in the US consume more energy than countries, than all the populations in these individual countries: Italy, Taiwan, Australia, Spain, Thailand, South Africa, Malaysia, Argentina, Norway, Belgium, Austria, just to mention a few. And there's a whole bunch more. Only 16 nations. There's 196 countries in the world. Only 16 of them use more energy than these data centers just in the US. The almost overnight surge in electricity demand from data centers is now outstripping the available power supply in many parts of the world. So when you follow the money, who is more important? Have the central banks and the governments not shown you time and time and time and time again that you are the right size to fail? But these big corporations like Amazon and all of the others, Meta, etc., they're more important than you and I are. So who's going to get the energy first? And how much are they going to use? I mean, are we going to be on rations? And do you know what to do for a blackout and a brownout? And you have to be prepared, because these issues are growing. And certainly if you live in Texas, if you live in California, you've been experiencing that already. But according to the EIA, U.S. electricity customers experienced 8 hours of power interruptions in 22, which is the most current data that I could find. So they anticipate that this number is set to increase, and yes, it will, as data center growth explodes. Do you have that power security plan in place? If not, How about getting it done? There's all different ways that you can generate energy. There's solar, there's backup generators. That's just to mention a few. There's wind. I've done videos on these. It's important that you are all set with your strategy to sustain your energy needs, because AI power demand might actually turn out to be a good for climate change. They're always going to spin these things in the positive and eliminate the negative. But there's definitely a large corporate power grab that is happening right now. In fact, there are already more than 5,000 data centers in the US. And the industry expected to grow nearly 10% annually, maybe even more. Goldman Sachs estimates that AI will drive a 160% increase in data center power demand by 2030. Here's that date again, that 2030 where everything is shifted into smart cities and contained people. The UN has that number. The IMF has that number. A lot of people are using that number. And here they're talking about 160% increase in data centers. So what's that, like 15,000? No, that'd be 300%. But still in all, you're looking at about 12,000 data centers sucking up every bit of energy that is produced and generated. I mean, that has me a little nervous, because if they just say that they need power as quickly as possible, it's going to lead to further entrenchment of a fossil fuel grid, because that's what's really built out. And that's it failing in many places because those grids have not been maintained. I'm going to be doing a piece on the grid part next week. But energy company executives argue that demand gains will actually provide both the pressure and financial incentives. See, this is why it's a good thing, because it's going to provide that financial incentive necessary to reform the U.S. electric grid. Yes, let's hand over control of the power grid to Silicon Valley. What do you think, guys? Does that sound like a good idea to you? Because I'm being completely facetious with that. It's not really so much demand supply. Who's got the money? These large corporations have the money. They're the ones that are going to determine and dictate how much you have to pay for your bills. I don't know how you feel about that, but I personally don't feel very good about that. Big tech companies say AI can help solve climate change. Right, we just give it enough data. Hey, that's going to take care of all of our problems. Have you heard that before? Because if you have and you believe it, there's this bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to talk to you about. Nah, I don't own it, but that's just a little minor detail, isn't it? But even as it's driving up their emissions and raising doubts about their climate goals, right? They're touting AI as the savior to everything. Yeah. Well, maybe the enslaver of everything. Hungry for energy, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft turned to nuclear power. So nuclear power, I mean, I remember 3 Mile Island. I remember Chernobyl. Do any of you remember that? Let's think about how that, and Fukushima, right? I mean, suddenly this has gotten so safe. Are you kidding me? I actually even saw on Bloomberg one day not that long ago, a female engineer that has started an organization, Mothers for Nuclear Energy. Well, I bet you there's a lot of other mothers that we could talk about that are not for this, but that's not for me to decide. The biggest tech companies have all made pledges to power their operations with emissions-free power by, there's that date again, 2030. But those comments came before the boom in artificial intelligence, which has demanded more energy. Large technology companies are investing billions of dollars in nuclear energy as an emissions-free source of electricity for artificial intelligence and other businesses. The problem is how long and how much it costs to bring these nuclear facilities back on board, because this has been a dormant and declining industry for quite some time. And not only that, but I mean, have safety things gotten any better? I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe this is the best thing since sliced bread. But don't they always tout something as bad as good when it's convenient? And don't they always tout that the thing that's bad is actually going to end up being good? Because after all, now Wall Street's going to invest more money in this. The timing and the costs, it's going to drive everybody. I mean, you want to see inflation again? You know, we've got it at lower levels, but this is going to drive the prices up for everybody. Now, it's not just the power supply. JP Morgan says AI power demand is straining U.S. water supplies because they use water many times, most times, to cool down all of the equipment in their data centers. Markets need to put a price on water in much the same way as many have tried to do with carbon dioxide. Pricing in the U.S. currently does not reflect the true value of water. Guess what they're telling you? Your bills are going up because they're going to take more of the water, leaving you parched and thirsty, but we can't live without water. U.S. tech group's water consumption soars in data central alley. Usage has increased by almost 2/3 just since 2019 in the world's largest concentration of computing infrastructure. I remember the most recent data that I could find, there are 5,000 of these data centers and growing. And this is just showing Google and Microsoft, because Amazon Web Services does not report its annual water consumption. So who knows if what we're even seeing is real. Training GPT-3 in Microsoft's high-end data centers can directly evaporate 7,000 liters or about 185,000 gallons of water. That sink in for a minute. They are using, just in training ChatGPT-3, 185,000 gallons of water, or 700,000 liters, if depending upon where you live in the world. The U.S. hasn't caught up with that. But here's the thing, especially about water. It's a finite commodity, right? Energy, at least they have an opportunity to create energy from other sources, but what do you do with water? And in fact, it's already happening where drought-stricken communities push back against data centers. But here's the thing, and this also goes back to the Zang Enterprise sound money strategy. As cash-strapped cities welcome big tech to build hundreds of million-dollar data centers in their backyards, critics question the environmental cost. Yes, it's huge, and it is about your ability to drink, because you cannot live without water. And if you're holding your food in refrigeration and you have no energy to power that, there's your problem with the energy too. And again, water is a finite commodity. So what are you doing for your water security? Do you have a water security plan? That's also part of the sound money strategy, because you can't live without food. You can't live without water. And food needs to grow using water. So what's the mantra? Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Get it done. Yes, the foundation of a sound money strategy is sound money, physical gold, physical silver. But if there's no water, it's not going to matter how much you have of this or how much you have of this. Make sure that you have some form of rain and water catchment. This is critical. We're going to be talking more about this on the new channel that we're putting together now. Because what do you have? You have those things that are finite, and gold as well. All the gold mined in history stacked into 400-ounce bars. There's 166.5 thousand tons, and that's it. It fits into one Olympic-sized swimming pool. What does that mean to you? Well, it means that they say that water is not reflected of its true value and it's going up. That's true for gold and silver as well. And gold and silver are the primary and secondary currency metals. So they have to suppress that price because a rising price is an indication of a failing currency. And even though gold is making new highs, it is still not even marginally near its true fundamental value. So you need to get that position built as soon as possible. Do you have a sound money plan? If you don't, just go ahead and follow that QR code with your phone. Click the link to set an appointment. Give us a call at 833-GLDZANG. So that's 833-453-9264. Prioritize putting a strategy in place. We're here to be of service. We're here to help you. And I have a whole staff that knows about the whole mantra pieces. So let us know how we can be of service. It's critically important that we build a local community. What we're talking about today are local community issues. Get to know who grows your food. Share this information with them. Bring in what you have yourself that you can share. Talents, silver and gold in any form, food, whatever it is that you have. We have to come together in community to help everybody get through this. And I know that together we can do this. And so till next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.